Welcome back to Hani English Stories. Today's story is about a father who waited every Friday for 25 years. He always ordered 2 dinners, even though he ate alone. Let's find out why. Every Friday evening at exactly 7 o'clock, an old man walked into Miller's family restaurant. He always sat at table 7 by the window, and he always ordered the same meal. 2 chicken dinners, please. Emily had only worked at the restaurant for a few weeks. The first time she heard the order, she looked around the table. There was only one customer. Maybe someone else was coming? She brought 2 plates of chicken and 2 cups of tea. George smiled. Thank you. Emily waited. 5 minutes passed. Then 10. No one came. George quietly ate his dinner. The second plate stayed untouched. Before leaving, he paid for both meals. The same thing happened every Friday. George never missed a week. Rain or sunshine, he always arrived at 7. He always ordered 2 dinners. He always left 1 plate untouched. Emily couldn't stop wondering why. One evening, after the restaurant became quiet, she finally asked him, "Mr. George, may I ask you something?" George smiled kindly. "Of course." "Why do you always order food for 2? For a moment, George didn't answer. Then he reached into his coat and took out an old photograph. It showed a smiling little boy standing beside him. "This is my son," George said softly. "His name is Daniel." Emily smiled. "He looks happy." He was. George looked at the empty chair across the table. "We used to come here every Friday. It was our tradition." George took a slow sip of tea. 25 years ago, we had a terrible argument. My son wanted to leave the city. I wanted him to stay. We both said things we didn't mean. He walked away. I never saw him again. Emily lowered her eyes. "I'm so sorry." George smiled sadly. "I searched for him. I wrote letters. I called old friends. But I never found him." He looked at the empty chair again. "So I kept our tradition. Every Friday, I order 2 dinners. Just in case. One day, he comes back." Emily felt tears in her eyes. "You still believe he will?" George smiled. A father should never stop hoping. A few days later, the restaurant was almost empty. A man in his 30s walked inside. Instead of sitting down, he looked around the room. His eyes stopped at table 7. Then he walked toward Emily. "Excuse me," he said. "Does an old man named George still come here on Fridays?" Emily looked at him carefully. "Yes." The man smiled sadly. "My name is Daniel. George is my father." Emily was speechless. She invited him to sit down. After a long silence, Daniel began to speak. "When I left home, I thought I was right. I planned to come back after a few months, but every year it became harder. I was too proud, and later, I was too ashamed." Emily listened quietly. Then she smiled. "Your father never gave up. Daniel looked confused. What do you mean? Emily looked at table 7. Every Friday for 25 years, he has ordered 2 chicken dinners. One for himself and one for you. Daniel covered his face with his hands. He couldn't hold back his tears. I thought he had forgotten me. Emily shook her head. I don't think parents ever forget. Daniel looked at the clock. Tomorrow was Friday. I'll be here. The next evening, George arrived as usual. Good evening, Emily. Good evening, Mr. George. The usual? George smiled. Yes. 2 chicken dinners. Emily nodded. I'll be right back. A few minutes later, she carried the meals to table 7. Just as she placed the second plate on the table, she looked toward the kitchen. It's ready, she said, with a smile. George looked confused. What's ready? At that moment, a man slowly walked out. George froze. His hands began to shake. The man stopped beside the table. For a few seconds, neither of them spoke. Then the man smiled. Hi, Dad. George stood up. His eyes filled with tears. Daniel? The young man nodded. I'm sorry. I came home. George didn't say another word. He simply pulled his son into a long hug. No one in the restaurant spoke. Some customers quietly wiped away their tears. After a moment, George smiled and looked at the table. For the first time in 25 years, the second dinner won't be cold. Daniel laughed through his tears. They sat down together, and they shared the meal, just like they had done long ago. As Emily watched them talking and laughing, she finally understood why George had never stopped coming. Sometimes hope feels impossible. Sometimes waiting takes years. But love doesn't count the time. It simply keeps a seat open for the day someone finally comes home. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed today's story and learned some new English along the way. If you liked this video, please give it a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, and turn on the notification bell so you won't miss our next story. See you in the next video. Until then, keep learning, keep practicing, and never stop believing in yourself. Bye for now.